All right, so 2026 is here and you are ready for a whole new year of growth. You're likely sitting here in one of three camps. Camp number one, you experienced a fantastic year in 2025. Your business experienced some massive revenue jumps and you're just ready to continue the momentum, which is amazing. You're glad you're here and you're in the right spot. Camp number two is maybe you've been experiencing kind of small incremental growth, maybe 10, 20, 30% jumps year over year, and you're just tired of playing small. You're ready for some exponential growth. And once again, super happy you're here. You're in the right spot. And third camp, and this is totally okay if you're in here as well, but this is the camp where you've been sitting at a certain threshold and you feel like there is literally a glass ceiling, like no matter how hard you push, no matter what you try to do, you cannot break this revenue ceiling. And if that's you and you've been plateaued, whether it's a couple months or a couple years, once again, glad you're here, you're in the right spot. Let's go ahead and dive on in. All right, so just for context, as we're about to dive into this conversation, we need to make sure that this is stated. This is not going to be about operations, okay? We can talk a whole nother video about hiring or delegating or systems, processes, fulfillment systems. All of that good stuff is super relevant and you need it in your business. And some of you guys might need that right now. And fully transparent, if that's you, let me know in the comments below. I would love to know really what are you dealing with. However, this specific video is going to be about making more offers and really optimizing for more revenue and more profits in your funnel. Going into this conversation today, the absolute best way to start is just going to be zooming out and taking a higher level perspective on business for a second, or on, I would say, sales funnels or sales processes for just 1 second. And really, when we do this, it's very simple. All you have to do to grow a business is you have to get in front of new people. Okay, you have to get people's awareness. And then from awareness, then you have to gain their interest. And then once they're, interested in a little bit more about what you have to do or what you have to serve them with, then you have to make them offers. And once you make them offers, then a certain percentage of those people should hopefully be saying yes. Okay, so it's very, very simple. You need to get in front of more people. You need to get their interest. You need to make them offers and understand that a certain percentage will, hopefully say yes. Okay, so now that we have some parameters for how a business in general at the highest level is grown, now we can get a little bit more specific. If we understand that the main reason why most people don't make the amount of revenue they want to make, ultimately, it's because they're just not making enough offers to enough people. So maybe you're getting in front of plenty of people and maybe a ton of them are interested in working with you and you just don't give them enough offers, right? For example, you could have 1 million people following you. And if they don't know that you have anything to sell them, if they don't know that they have something that they can buy from you, you're not going to make much money from them. Inversely, you can have the best offer in the world and every single person that hears about it says yes. But if you're not getting it in front of enough eyeballs, well, you're not going to make enough money, right? You're going to be capped at some point. So that's ultimately what really marketing and sales processes come down to, is how do you design an offer that more people want to take you up on, more people want to say yes to, and then how do you design a sales process that is frictionless, or really I would say actually has the correct amount of friction, right? Where a stranger can go through your sales process, they learn a little bit more, they're gaining their interest, or you're gaining their interest, and ultimately you give them offers and enough people will say yes. So that way your revenue goals, your financial goals are ultimately able to be hit. The first thing that I want you to focus on as we head into 2026, specifically for revenue goals, is how do I make more offers? Okay, more offers can actually be broken down into 2 categories. Is number one, how do I make more quantity of offers? How do I make, go from maybe you offered 100 people your services last month to, how do you offer 1,000 people your services? So there's that. But then also the other element of this conversation is consistency. For example, you might have made a bunch of people offers back in February, and maybe you were working your pipeline, but you weren't making new people offers from March until June. Of course, you're going to have a dry spell for a while. So there's quantity and there's consistency that go into this equation. So now let's get quite a bit more, I would say, tactical with potential ways that you can actually do this. For the first way that I would try to make a higher quantity of offers is by simply understanding one-to-many versus one-to-one. Okay, many people, especially in the coaching space, consultancy space, really anyone in the high-ticket space, a lot of people try to sell their offers in a one-on-one fashion, right? Where they are, jumping on a sales call, they're jumping on a Zoom consult, they're having a conversation, 45 minutes to an hour, and, hopefully if it's a good fit, then you give them that offer and, hopefully they will say yes. Okay, that takes a lot of work to get your offers out in front of enough people. if we think about the time in the day, at the end of the day, like obviously if you're an entrepreneur, you probably work quite a bit more than 40 hours a week for most people, but let's just say 40-hour work week. And let's say you've got a crazy packed schedule. Okay, you can try to do, sales calls all day long. You can do 8 sales calls a day, 100% show rate, which we all know is a pipe dream. That's not happening for anyone. But we can do that. We could do an 8-hour sales day where you have 8 sales calls per day for 5 days a week. And that's ultimately 40 sales calls that you could take. Let's say that, 20% of those people say yes to working with you. Great. You just can, I would say you just enrolled 8 clients. Which is fine. 8 clients in a week, for some of you guys, that's a pipe dream. Others of you, that's a really bad week though. And what we have to understand here is that time becomes limited. Time already is limited, but your schedule becomes the limiting factor on being able to grow your business. If you're only making offers in a one-on-one fashion, you're quite literally building your business in a linear growth rate. That's why many people kind of get stuck in that second camp that I mentioned earlier, which is just kind of building in 10, 20, 30% increments. It's because ultimately they're just trying to get a little bit better at their sales calls. They're trying to get a little bit higher quality leads year over year, and ultimately it leads to small growth. However, if, for example, you were to go live in front of 100 people on a Zoom call, and instead of making an offer to one person at one time, you gave that one offer to 100 people at the exact same time, you actually don't have to spend any more time to do this. However, you just made 100 times more offers than you would have otherwise. And, if 20% of people say yes, you could actually enroll 20 people in that very day as compared to 8 people in the existing scenario where it took you an entire week to do that. So that's the purpose and more so the intention of one-to-many selling, where you get in front of a bunch of people at one time and you can give your offer to more than one person at the same time. It's an exponential way of growing your business. Now, you don't have to do this. Ultimately, it is up to you, but I would highly encourage you find at least one way to implement one-to-many selling systems within your business this next year if you're really ready for exponential growth. Okay, there are a few different ways that you can do this. Number one is through free webinars. Like them or love them, they are a thing. I personally hate them. And I shouldn't say hate, that's a strong word, but I really don't like them very much. And the reason being is because you're trying to force this know, like, and trust factor with people that don't know, like, and trust you yet. You're trying to force that and try to build that within 45 to 90 minutes. And that's for the people that do show up. If you've ever ran a webinar before, or if you have any friends that are running webinars right now, you know that the show rate on these are atrocious. For a cold audience, people that truly have never heard of you, they just saw your Facebook ad, they signed up for your webinar. Typically, people get about a 10 to 20% show rate on their webinars, maybe 30% if you're really crushing it. And I mean, that's far few and in between that people hit those sorts of numbers. And so when you have such a small show rate, and then you have a bunch of people that are extremely skeptical, and you're trying to, wheel and deal and try to get this quick little high ticket offer thrown out to them within a 45 to 9-minute presentation. You're trying to rush the know, like, and trust factor, and ultimately it's just not a natural sales process unless you have a pretty low high ticket offer. Maybe you're selling something for $2,000 or something. But if you're here and you're trying to sell, call it $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 packages. Typically, webinars are not the most efficient way to do that. And even if you have a great conversion rate, once again, your show rate's so low that they're not super, super efficient. But once again, it's up to you. And ultimately, I think that's one of the beautiful things about business is that you can build a business literally however you want to build it. As long as you're doing it legally and ethically and, you're not getting in trouble with the government, you're good to go. And you're obviously providing real value to your clients or your customers. Amazing. Whatever brings you joy, do that. So anyway, webinars are one-to-many selling system. That is one way of doing it. Another route would be sponsoring events. Admittedly, this is something that we integrated into our business last year, and it was awesome. You pay some sort of a sponsorship fee typically to get in front of people, usually on a live stage where maybe there's a conference and you pay, I don't know, it might be on the low end, a few grand. On the higher end, it might be 30, 40, 50 grand. And you might get a booth in the back of the room or in the expo center, but then also you can oftentimes negotiate speaking fees or some sort of a speaking time where, maybe you pay 10 grand or 20 grand to technically, sure, great, you have your booth in the back of the room, but also as a part of paying a higher sponsorship fee, you also are negotiating a little bit of time on stage as a part of that. And so whether that's a 10-minute presentation or a 20 or 30-minute presentation as a way of being able to control the frame of the room and make sure every single person in the room gets to hear about you as maybe like the title sponsor, that's another great way of being able to really, in a one-to-many fashion, tell a lot of qualified individuals, especially people that are paid to be at those events, tell them what they're up to or what you're up to and how you can help them. It's a great way to be able to grow your business, especially if you have a solid offer and you're in the right room. Of course, obviously, if you sell, I would say business services and you go to a conference that's all on marriage, like it might not be the best place for you to be at. Of course, we got to use your brains here. But anyway, that is another option, is go sponsor other people's events and you can get on stage. And that's a great way to be able to grow your business as well in a one-to-many fashion. Fully transparent. We've been pretty consistent with this in our business last year. I think we sponsored 7 events or maybe 8 events just in the last few months, really like towards the end of really Q3 and Q4. We were pretty much sponsoring 1 or 2 events almost every single month. And it was a fantastic way of being able to get more eyeballs in front of what we're up to and get way more calls booked on the schedule and be able to ultimately close more clients. So anyway, that's a second way of one-to-many selling systems, if maybe the in-person environment and really being on stage excites you. Now, the third way that a lot of people have started, I would say, to grow their business in a one-to-many fashion is through like these virtual events or almost like a paid challenge or a paid boot camp or a paid event, right? Where they are usually virtual, right? So you don't have to leave your room. You don't have to leave your house. If you've got your home office, great. You can do it from Zoom. Additionally, they're only, I don't know, call it 1-2 hours a day. And you charge a small ticket price. And the ticket price, call it $7, $9, maybe $27, something like that, where you're charging on the front end. So you're kind of solving for what the issue with webinars is, where actually more people will show up now because they paid you. We have a ton of data. I mean, fully transparent, like this is what we do. Paidevents.com is what I own, paidbootcamps.com, paidchallenges.com. I'm Zach Hesterberg. I'm the founder of all of them. And they work really, really well. Typically, with all of our clients across all industries, they're usually averaging 50 to 75% show rates on as minimal as a $7 ticket. So it's a very efficient way to get way more of those people that actually sign up to actually show up, right? And then when you host the event, instead of trying to force this know, like, and trust factor in one day or in one like 45 to 9-minute session, you don't need to rush it, right? We could actually break this up into 2, 3, sometimes 5-day challenges or 5-day events where you're going live for 1 or 2 hours a day for a few days in a row. You could actually properly build that know, like, and trust factor without feeling like you're rushing anything. And it's a really natural way of being able to build relationships with people at scale, being able to add value to them at scale, not having to rush anything. And then by the time the event's over, it almost creates this really natural way of saying like, look, guys, we had an awesome time this week. Some of you guys are ready to, go out on your own and get this all done, and great. Hey, happy you're here. Others of you guys are like, no, we experienced a lot of momentum and we need quite a bit more. We need more help. We want someone to kind of hold our hand and make sure that, we walk through this new forest, with someone that's already been there, done that sort of a thing. And if that's you, we do have a special offer for you. And then you can kind of roll into your offer. That's an incredible way of being able to grow your business with these paid virtual events. So anyway, that's a third option, and fully transparent, shameless plug. If you would like our help with that or seeing like really how those can integrate into your business model, feel free, check out the link in the description, paidevents.com. Feel free, book a call with either myself or someone from our team. We'd be happy to kind of walk you through the model, explain a little bit more about how it works, and see if this would make sense for you. And really, fully transparent. We don't care if it makes sense for you or not. Like at the end of the day, for us, it might sound weird me saying this, I don't actually care that much about paid events. Okay, that's not my MO. My MO is truly my mission is helping entrepreneurs multiply the businesses that God has given them. That is what I ultimately care about. And so that's why that's why this specific episode is not just on paid events. It's about just how do you multiply your business next year? And paid events right now are working extremely well. So once again, shameless plug. if you'd like some help, if you'd like to chat, feel free, check out paidevents.com. We'd be happy to just kind of explain what that would look like. Okay, so now that we've talked about making more offers to more people, really solving for the quantity of offers you're making through one-to-many selling, I would encourage you to now start focusing on consistency. So this is the second part of this conversation, which is how do we consistently make more offers to people? It's helpful, to go host a big virtual event or, go sponsor someone's event. And, I've seen so many different 6- and 7-figure paydays when people do those. The most I think I've seen is it was a little over $2.5 million. It was just shy of $2.6 million that one of our clients made in about 24 hours from a paid virtual event. From like $7 tickets. So, that's great, to go create a big surge of revenue like that. But you don't want to just go straight back down to exactly where you were, last year on a month-over-month basis just after that event's over. You want to consistently level up the revenue that you're making. So the way to do that is by making sure that you are consistently making more offers to more people. Now, I would say there's 2 ways that we could solve for this. Number one is if you like the one-to-many selling system. And quite honestly, I don't care if you like it or not. I think it's just wise to do in general. I just think it's a wise thing to implement into a business. And I would try to find events that whether you're sponsoring events or whether you're putting webinars on your calendar or paid virtual events or boot camps or challenges on your calendar, I would commit to doing something on a one-to-many fashion at least once a month. If that seems super overwhelming, maybe it's once a quarter because these can be, especially if you have to travel for an in-person event or whatnot. I understand not wanting to do it once a month. I'm under the boat and really the spot in my life right now, 31 years old, going to be 32 this year, currently have no kids, am married, but we have a lot of flexibility. So I do have the luxury of being able to say, yeah, once a month, I'm going to do things, sometimes 2 or 3 times a month, we're doing events. So that's great. But in general, commit to putting something on your calendar, at least on a consistent basis, whether it's once a quarter, once a month, once every other month. But that way, you don't just have some, big off, some one-off big event and call it February, and the rest of the year is just kind of the same as last year. You're just not much better off for that. So I would try to schedule out events on your calendar throughout the entire year next year. And once again, I don't care if they're webinars, paid virtual events, sponsorship events, quite honestly, they all do technically work to varying degrees. And it just depends on kind of what's best for you or what I would say is most aligned for you. So that's the one thing. Once again, schedule them out all on the calendar. Now, second thing is the one-to-many fashion, the one-to-many selling systems. They are great, but honestly, they're not all there is. They're not the only way to grow a business. I think it's extremely important that you still have consistency in between those events. Even if you are doing a big one-off event, technically speaking, every month, that's fantastic. But what are you doing in the other 3.5 weeks of that month? Are you just not making any revenue? No, that's not the way to grow a business. And so I would encourage you, find some other evergreen selling system that you can put into your business, whether that be call funnels through, you're running ads to like a VSL, like a video sales letter, prompting people to book a call with you. Those, admittedly, they used to crush back in call it 2021 through 2023. They're not near as efficient as they used to be. Fully transparent, we're trying to test them out right now in our business. I think at the very moment, at the time of recording this, we spent, probably about 20 grand on some call booking funnel ads in the last few weeks. And so far, we have one deal to show for it. And so we are way upside down on these. And this is coming from someone who used to run a call booking style agency. We used to crush these things. And fully transparent, the cost per call is not too crazy expensive. So I think we're paying $350 cost per call, depending on the day. Sometimes it's down to $200, but in general, it's about $350, somewhere around there, cost per call. But the show rate on these call funnels are pretty tough because, once again, people are skeptical. People are the trust has just gone down in the marketplace, and so show rates go way, 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 way down. And then of the people that do show up, they're really not ready to be closed on call number one unless you have a pretty cheap service. And fully transparent, we have a multi-5-figure a year service, and so it's not exactly the quickest deal cycle when you have cold people jumping on one call with you. So anyway, that can absolutely work though, depending on your business, depending on the back-end selling systems you install into those business or into those funnels. So that would be one option. Another option is simply just doing organic marketing, right? really committing to content, really committing to maybe it's outbound, maybe you're doing cold calls, maybe you're doing cold emails, maybe you're doing some LinkedIn messaging or gosh, I mean, door to door. It really just depends on your business, but doing something that you have direct control over where it's like, hey, every single day I'm going to commit to making, 3 posts and I'm going to commit to sending out 25 friend requests or 50 friend requests or connection requests. And I'm also going to commit to starting 15 new conversations every single day. And, after you do that, after a while, it will compound. And all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh man, I've got more people in my pipeline than I can personally handle. I can personally, steward well. But that's another option that you can continue to get some consistent revenue in the funnel. Some people like to do DM ads. I mean, there's plenty of other ways to get evergreen leads and calls booked on your calendar. Once again, though, my thing that I don't love about these is that they're just one-off sales, which is fine. Once again, like it's super important. I just don't like to rely on those. If we're truly talking about exponentially multiplying our business, it's not done. So like you're not going to exponentially multiply your business just by selling one-off kind of one-on-one sales. So anyway, they're important. They're an incredible piece to the puzzle. I just wouldn't rely on them as your way of truly breaking free into a whole new revenue level going into 2026. But once again, still very important. Now, another element to this conversation outside of making more offers and making them more consistently is making sure that we are simplifying our offers. Like, let's actually analyze your offer, your offer suite right now. The reason why I'm bringing this one up is because I had a client call with someone quite literally, it was yesterday. And this is a client, they're doing okay in their business. They have not been able to crack anything past, I think it was like $87,000 within a month. That was the most they've ever been able to hit. And they've hit in that $80,000 range multiple times, but they've never been able to get past it. And this is a newer client of ours. And so fully transparent, they've not been able to, they've not tried a virtual event yet. That's obviously why they're working with us. But I was diving into like understanding where's all the revenue coming from. And so this is a great activity you could do for yourself is go actually write down, maybe you've got 3 offers, 5 offers, 10 offers, 1 offer. I don't care how many offers you have, but go write down of all of the clients or all of the sales that you made last month, or maybe you take your highest revenue month you've ever made. And I would go kind of divvy it out and say, maybe you made, call it $100,000. And you find that, $50,000 came from offer number 1 and, $20,000 came from offer number 2 and I don't know, $10,000 came from offer number 3 and then, $15,000 came from offer number 4 and $5,000 came from offer number 5 or wherever I'm even at this point. Okay, the point here is go map out your highest record revenue you've ever made and go map out the products or the offers that you sold that ended up creating that revenue. And what you'll find, and what we found yesterday, is typically about 80% of your revenue is usually made from one specific offer. Usually, and not all the time, but usually. And in my case, with this specific client, they had 7 different offers that they had been selling over the last year. And they were scatterbrained because of that. I mean, think about it like this. They had technically like a high ticket offer, and that was broken down into 3 different like lengths of working with them. And then they had like a mid ticket offer, and they had 3 different commitment levels on that mid ticket offer. And then they also had a low ticket like membership offer. It's like, man, if the person that's buying the high ticket offer is not the same person that's buying the low ticket, or like your membership. And then even the person that's buying like the month by month mid ticket offer is not usually the same person that's buying like the highest tier high ticket offer. And so when you have all of these different offers and you're kind of like trying to attract a bunch of different people, your marketing is typically going to be pretty inefficient because you're going to try to act like you're talking to everyone. And by doing so, you're going to talk to no one. So in my case, with this specific client, I said, hey, literally more than 80% of your revenue is coming from one specific offer, and not even just one offer suite. It wasn't just the high ticket offer. It was like the middle version of their high ticket offer. It's like, you got to go all in on that. And that's the only thing you should be focused on. And so by doing such, now your fulfillment systems are going to get way easier. Like they're going to become way more simpler. And then also your marketing is going to be way more specific because there's a very specific type of buyer for each of those offers in their case. And so for you, I highly encourage you, if you're actively selling more than one offer, I'd really take a look at that and figure out, like, do we really need to be selling more than one offer? Oftentimes, if you are in the high ticket space, if you've got some sort of a program or an offer that costs at least a couple $1,000s, you really don't need to have more than one offer, at least to get to the 7-figure run rate. We have worked with hundreds. Technically, if I pulled up Stripe right now, we'd have probably close to about 1,000 clients that we've worked with over the last 10 years. And varying ranges of revenue. I mean, some people that are like just getting started, we've worked with a lot of 6, 7, and even 8-figure businesses though. And I would say most of the 7-figure businesses get there specifically by selling one core high ticket offer. Okay, whether that's a $2,000 offer, $5,000, $20,000, etc. It's so much simpler. And quite honestly, if we do the math on this, if we think about it, if you've got a $5,000 offer and you want to make $1 million a year, you only need, technically speaking, $83,333 a month. So let's just say 85K is what you need to make on a monthly basis in cash collected. Okay, so 85K divided by 5, I think that is it 17? Let's see, 85,000 divided by 5,000. Yep, 17 clients. That's all you need, 17 clients. As compared to, let's say that you're charging $500. If you want to make $85,000 in a month and you have a $500 service, you need 170 clients. So it is way easier, obviously, to get 17 people to say yes to you than 170 people to say yes to you. So I would encourage you, minimize your offer stack. Try to get one core high-ticket flagship offer that everyone comes on into. And it's okay to turn down clients. If they're not a great fit for it, no big deal. No harm, no foul. That's where we are. And fully transparent, we're at a multi-7-figure a year run rate. We're doing pretty well right now. We're scaling very quickly. And we still only have one core offer. We have another offer we will be rolling out at some point later this upcoming year in 2026 for some other reasons, and we'll get into that in another video. But once again, to get to 7-figure run rate, you just don't need much more than one offer. So that's what I would encourage you, is simplify your offer stack so that you're not scatterbrained in your marketing, you're not scatterbrained in your fulfillment systems, anything like that. Now, another thing that I want you to take into consideration as we head into 2026 is, where are we playing small? Where are we just really taking small bets? If you say you want to make, call it 7 figures a year, maybe 8 figures a year, 9 figures a year, I have no idea where you're at. And statistically speaking, I mean, you are odds are against you to get to 7 figures, and especially 8 figures a year. I think that the U.S. government says that only about 0.1% of businesses in the U.S. ever make it to 8 figures a year. So just to be very clear, technically, odds are against you. I have no idea who you are. This is technically just a YouTube video, so I'm not making any claims. But at the end of the day, if you say that you want some big business and you are unwilling to put your money where your mouth is and invest in your business, come on. What are you doing? You've got to put your money where your mouth is. You got to put more money on the table. You got to play bigger. You got to take bigger risks. I've got a mentor. His name's Jeremy Haynes. Fantastic guy. He encouraged me to start putting my balls on the table is the way he worded it. And I started doing that this year, and it worked real well. Okay. And obviously you're going to lose some money when you start taking bigger bets, but you're going to increase the probability that you'll make quite a bit more whenever your bets actually win. Okay. Obviously, don't go put all your money on red. You got to take sophisticated bets. You really got to analyze, the pros and cons and the likelihood that you'll, be profitable on certain investments. But once you have one that, like, statistically speaking, like, it looks like it's going to be a safe bet, and maybe you put a little bit of money down, on an ad campaign, you're like, hey, I actually made a little bit of money on that. For every dollar I put in, I was getting $2 back. Cool. Go put 10 times more money into it. Like, stop taking such small risks. And so, once again, everyone has different risk tolerances, but at the end of the day, sometimes the only thing that's actually keeping you from making more money and keeping you from the revenue that you say you want is your willingness to finally just take risks. Put something on a credit card, go get a small business loan, and really, if cash is the only thing that's keeping you from growing your business, find a way to go get the cash and start to play bigger. Direct example of this would be for myself. When we first sponsored our first ever event, it was last year, it was in 2025 in July, we paid $5,000 to sponsor that event. And it made us a good bit of money, technically speaking, just based on proportions. It was 6 figures that we made just from sponsoring that one event. And we only paid $5K to be there. Okay. And so for me, immediately, I was like, yeah, if a door opens and I make money, yeah, great. We're going to continue to run through every door that that's in that avenue, right? And so I started sponsoring more and more and more and more and more events. As long as my schedule was free for an event, I was there and I was sponsoring it. And I'm now to the point where, I'm throwing 30 grand down for sponsorships, for bigger events, because I don't want to just be in a small room of 25 or 50 people. I want 2,000 people. I want 500 plus people at very, very least. But yeah, like in January, we'll be sponsoring Podfest. And, I'm not going to say what I specifically sponsored or what I specifically paid to sponsor that, but that's the largest podcasting conference in the country, at least to my knowledge. There should be about 2,000, maybe 2,500 people there. As compared to my first event, there were only about 50 people there that I had sponsored that. So obviously, you've got to take calculated risks, but continue to take more and more and more risks and play bigger each time you're seeing that it's boding well for you. Okay, so that it's just a system. I mean, that's how you gamble. Like, you've got to become a professional gambler, as what once again, actually, Jeremy Haynes has helped me install that mindset. Is like, as business owners, we, at the end of the day, the only way that we're going to grow our business is by taking gambles, and we have to take calculated risks. But as long as it's boding well, as long as it's profitable, you're going to have to continue to take more and more and more of those risks and bigger risks. And I mean, that's how you grow the business. Many of my friends that are at the 8-figure level, many of them would say that they don't actually have to work any harder to get to 8 figures. The only thing they do different is actually let their credit card work harder. Quite literally. Like, that is what most of them say, is that, of course you have to have the right team. You've got to have the right team. And that's, another point that we should probably talk about is delegation and starting to hire people. Stop playing so small and stop being so afraid. And this, I actually think this is just a perfect transition. We'll just transition into it right now, which is start hiring more people when you need to. And the caveat on this, don't hire people to take care of the most important things in the business as far as growing the business. I see so many times people will start a business because they're good at the service. Maybe you're good at running Facebook ads for people, or maybe you're good at, coaching, like life coaching, or maybe you're good at health and fitness and you want to help people with their health and fitness journeys. And so you start these coaching businesses because you're good at the craft. But that doesn't mean that you're good as a CEO. That does not mean that you're good at sales. That does not mean that you're good at marketing. Oftentimes, those are the things that a lot of coaches don't like to do. A lot of really good coaches just want to coach, and they only start their own business because it's a way to make more money and work remotely, right? But if you're going to start your own business and you're really going to coach, you've got to learn how to be good at sales and good at marketing. And you, as the founder, are the one that's in charge of growing the business. Do not be so quick to hire a salesperson when you're making less than 7 figures a year. Do not be so quick to hire, a Facebook ads person when at max you're spending $5,000 a month on ad spend. Like, you've got to learn these core skills. These are the skills of which you could build a rock solid business on, as long as your foundation is rock solid. But when you're starting to hire people out for skills that you have no idea how they work, and they're the literal pivotal skills that are supposed to take your business to the next level, you're delegating the wrong things. When you first start hiring people, I highly encourage you, hire the positions that will keep the business running so that you can keep the business growing, okay? I'm going to repeat that again for the person that really needs to hear this. Hire the people that will keep the business running so that you can keep the business growing. Okay, you've got to focus on growing the business, not working inside of the business. Both are important, but don't be so quick to delegate the things that actually move the needle forward. Okay, encourage you to learn those skills and embrace the unsexy, gritty work of learning those things. Once again, it's not fun, it's not sexy for all people. Sometimes it's overwhelming, but it is undoubtedly what will move your business forward and help you become a better entrepreneur. And that's what you've got to do, especially if you're a coach. You've got to stop focusing on being a better coach and start focusing on becoming a better CEO. Now, the last thing I want to talk about in this video, if you're truly committed to growing in 2026, is analyzing your commitments, okay? Analyzing your standards, your goals, all of those things. We've got to be extremely honest with ourselves and stop virtue signaling about what we say our goals are. If we say our goal is, let's say, $1 million a year or $10 million a year or whatever that is for you, okay, but we're nowhere close to it, Why is that our goal? And is it just a goal or is it a standard? What I mean by that is if I take a group of 100 people that are just starting off their business, I'm sure all 100 of them would say, if they're pre-revenue, all 100 of them would say, yeah, I would love to make $100,000 a year next year. Okay, six figures is kind of like the first goal that many small businesses have. But why would very few people actually hit that? It's not because their goal is different, right? They all have the same goal. It's because they all fall to standards. They all fall to the standards that they have set for themselves that they're willing to tolerate in their life. At the end of the day, a lot of people will get to this point where they could just get really comfortable and they don't have a reason why they have to continue growing. Maybe they find that, they're making 50 grand a year or I don't know, 70 grand a year or 90 grand a year. And they're like, yeah, you know what? This is actually more than I thought I'd ever make before. I'm able to, provide for my family and da-da-da-da-da. And they get comfortable. And at the end of the day, once again, if the goals are not that important. It's the standards that people will fall down to. And so if your standard, if at the end of the day, if you're being really honest with yourself, and while you're saying you want to make $1 million, if truly you're comfortable at $200,000 a year, you're going to have to get really creative and really serious about and really curious about what will help you increase your standards. Is it that, hey, you're finally willing to commit to getting the house that you and your wife have been wanting for a while? Are you finally committing to this is the last year that your kids are going to be in public school? Are you finally willing to commit to not investing at the rate that you know that you need to be investing so that you could retire in the time that you want to retire by? Are you for me, I'm someone that's faith-based and very much Christian. And so for my sake, when I was getting really serious with myself, I realized that it was truly biblically speaking, we have to multiply. I already have a video on this on my channel, so I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I have to multiply what God has given me, because in the parable of the talents, the two men that were called good and faithful, they multiplied what God gave them, or what their master gave them. And the man that was called wicked and lazy, he not only maintained what had been given to him, but after he maintained it and he was called wicked and lazy, it was actually taken away from him and given to the man that doubled his 5 talents and turned them into 10. And so when I started thinking about this, I'm like, man, I want to hear God say, well done, my good and faithful servant, whenever I finish up with my time here on this earth. And I don't want him to say, you wicked and lazy servant, you wicked and slothful servant. I do not want to hear those words. And for me, there is no stopping point in business. And it's a healthy sense of fear, not like a I'm afraid, but like a holy awe and reverence and respect for God, that I don't want to ever maintain what I have here. And so I'm going to continue to commit to multiplying my business year over year over year. But anyway, back to you. I want to encourage you. You got to get serious with yourself and be really honest with yourself on what are you committing to. Are you going to commit to growing this year? Are you going to commit to finally saying this is the year that things change? I never want to have the same conversation with my wife or with my spouse or with my girlfriend for why we're not making the same money and why next month is going to be the month that things change. No, commit. This is the last time. This is the last time that you're going to finally stop having that conversation with her or with him. Okay, this is the last time you're going to finally stop caring about your house payment, or finally stop caring about your, I shouldn't say caring, finally stop stressing about your house payment, or finally stop stressing about your student loans. This is the last time you're going to be willing to tolerate even having student loan debt, right? Get out of debt, continue to make more money, continue to multiply what God has given you so that you can also give back and you have the life that you want to have, but also give back and serve your community. So anyway, that's just it's more of it's more of an emotional element to the conversation, right? Everything that we talked about so far, simplifying your offer structure, getting more serious about selling in a one-to-many fashion, those are all great, but they're very logical. And at the end of the day, I can tell you to do all of those things. I could give you the full playbook. But if you don't get serious with yourself on why you have to commit to growing and leveling up, all of those things are going to fall by the wayside. At the end of the day, this is a free YouTube video. You didn't pay for it, or a free podcast if you're listening to the audio version. You didn't pay for it. And so what you don't pay for, you don't typically pay the most attention to. And so at the end of the day, it kind of balls in your court at this point. But I would encourage you, make a commitment to yourself that this is the year that things are going to change. And for some of you, fully transparent, that means that you're going to finally have to start putting your money where your mouth is, whether it be, hey, you invest into a mentor, you invest into a program to actually help you sell one-to-many. Once again, we can help you out with that. Whether that be, you invest into a team and you start hiring people, whether that be you start spending more money on ads and you finally start, once again, as my mentor would say, put your balls on the table, right? Like commit. That's the word of encouragement. And so I would ask you today, what are you going to commit to? Let me know in the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, let me know in the comments, what are you committing to doing in your business? What are you committing to taking action on this next week? Okay. Not, sure, I want to know about the year, but like, what are you actually going to do this week? Because if you just say, yeah, this year I'm committing to selling one-to-many. Okay. Technically speaking, that means that you could wait for the next 11 months before you actually take action on that. Okay. So you want to have shorter timelines. And so I would say, what are you committing to getting done this week or committing to doing this week that will absolutely set yourself up for a year of growth? Okay. I want to know in the comments. And by the way, if you're new here, welcome to the channel. Main things that we talk about is multiplying your business. Obviously, Sold Out Events is what our podcast is. I do own paidevents.com, but we have videos every Tuesday or podcasts every Tuesday that talk about business growth and tactics that you can go implement into your business to make sure you're growing and multiplying. And every Friday, we have Faith Forward Fridays, where all we talk about is biblical references and biblically based scriptures that you can apply into how you're leading your team. How you can also apply into how you're building offers or how you're building the business in general. So anyway, if you're new here, welcome to the channel. I would encourage you, if you got any sort of value from today's video, hit the subscribe button. It would mean the world to me. And once again, leave that comment on what you're committing to. And if you have any other entrepreneurial friends that need to hear this, please share this with someone. This could truly change not just someone's year, but this could actually change someone's life if they actually take action on the things that we're talking about today. So much love and hope to see you in the next video.